This was way different from the exhibition. This thought crawled its way through the minds of the new generation as they stood in the field, gazing up at the packed arena before them. Last they were here, maybe a few hundred people were in the stands. Now they were before thousands of people, in colorful outfits, expected to play up their personalities and powers. Felix glanced up from beneath the hood of his sleeveless open jacket, scanning for his family as the announcer pulled a flight stick of some sort from his suit jacket. Fighters, please direct your attention to the Jumbotron. The man clicked a switch on, and a display began to play on the massive screens, showing the 16-man bracket and the names of the various fighters floating around it. Pray to Lady Luck, boys and girls. Once I press this button, you get who you get. Will they be weak? Will they be strong? Let's find out, greenhorns. Let's mix the matchups. Once more clicking his switch, the names began to bounce around the Jumbotron wildly, darting from wall to wall, settling into brackets one by one until finally all 8 matchups were made. The first battle being Felix versus number 3, Desmond Ventura. The battles have been decided, and with that, there'll be no more delays. Fighters to the benches, Velatores, Ventura, to the A and B sides respectively. It's time for the tournament to begin. The combatants did as told, moving to the side while Felix and Desmond moved to their spots. The first battle would be between the 4th and 3rd of the new generation. The 2 young men stood in front of each other, a referee between them, staring each other down while the announcer made their introduction. At my side A, a silver-haired youth with an air of darkness, the only combatant to have battled an Archetype pre-power. With 46 points, the new generation's 4th son, Felix Velatores. The young man listened with a blush across his cheeks, his black hood patterned with horns hiding it, along with a tight sleeveless turtleneck, the symbol of his archetype on its back, wearing braces and a belt of interlocking serpents over baggy pants, with blue smoky phantom limbs reaching out his pant legs from his boots. Felix stared at the crowd as they cheered for the boy, giving an odd wave as the weight of the situation sunk in. And at my side B, a lean and springy young man with a total score of 40 points to his name and a fire in his eye. New generation's 3rd son, Desmond Ventura. The youth called Desmond was dark-skinned and lanky, dressed in a gold-hemmed short toga, long wing accessories jutting from his ears, around his dreads with leather wrappings crawling up his legs from his winged boots. And true to the announcer's words, his eyes were filled with fire, grin on his face as he bounced in place, loosening up for the fight. Can you feel the heat in here, folks? It's first to knock out wins, and with 18 minutes on the clock, let's let loose and finally see just what this new generation can do. The referee held out his hands in front of the boys as the announcer moved to the sidelines. The 2 fighters squared up for the battle. Let the match begin! The bell rang out, the ref pulling away from the 2 men to trade blows, and with Desmond quick to toss out the first punch. Biting back a curse, the blonde teen moved to block the punch, ready to retaliate with his own. But the moment passed and nothing connected. Confused, Felix cautiously lowered his guard, his foe still extending his fist out, a toothy grin forming on his face, much to the ivory youth's exasperation. Same shit, different day, right? With a soft chuckle, Desmond straightened himself out, keeping his hands out, gesturing for a fist bump. A moment of deliberation passed for Felix before giving out a sigh and a weary smile before returning the hand and bumping the fist, his opponent disappearing thereafter. Huh? Felix immediately felt the wind rush past him, grass and dirt flying up from where his opponent once stood. Having gone from the boy's sight, while others might have felt panic, Felix felt a bittersweet sense of knowing. It's a speedster! The young man used what little information he could glean from the sight in front of him, the breeze at his side and whistling wind getting louder behind him to ascertain his opponent's whereabouts. shifting to his side just in time to guard, Desmond blowing Felix away with sheer force. The boy cried out as he skidded across the ground, doing his best to slow down and recover to his feet, his opponent doing the same, evidently having put too much lean into his shove. "Oh, looks like first blood goes to Ventura!" shouted the announcer as the boys slowly got up. "You're gonna want to pay real close attention, folks, because the golden blur in the wind is Desmond the Swift!" The crowd erupted in cheers, Desmond looking in awe for a moment before basking in the glory. Yeah, that's right! Y'all watch, this match's gonna be over in a minute, I promise you. Young Showboat declared while his forgotten foe took a deep breath. Ha! The demon threw his fist out and let fly a blast of bright flames, hurling towards his showboating adversary, the dark-skinned young man returning his gaze to Felix just in time to duck the fireball. "Damn!" Ventura cursed, heart racing, having barely avoided being charred, his ears catching the word of someone from the fighter's bench. "Fuck are you doing, you idiot? Move!" The voice belonged to an older man, greasy, black, scraggly hair and sun-kissed skin, shouting an odd mix of insults and encouragements to the speedster. Desmond threw a quick okay sign before straightening up, only to be taken by surprise once more as he tilted his head back, Felix's fist whistling past his ear, fire rushing out near the wings before he pulled back his arm, an exchange of blows taking place between the two men as Desmond retaliated. "So, I take it that's one of yours, Stan?" Goldbug asked the scruffy man. "Constantine to you, B. And yeah, show off, you little shit's mine. Blondie yours? Yep, my pride and joy." "Must be Providence. Hell of a thing, too. I bet good money mine's gonna plow through whatever sorry bastard stood in front of him in the first match. Happy to know it'll be your dickhead taking a dive." The spiky-haired coach looked at his fellow questioningly. How much?" "5 million. Electric Archetype simply stood, mouth agape, slowly returning his attention to the fight as his peer's pupils circled about in a brawl. Felix managing to shove his opponent back, attempting to set up an axe kick, Desmond demonstrating his powers once more to retaliate with a high-speed push of his own, throwing his arms to the side as he leaned in and rushed headfirst into the demon's gut, once more blasting Felix away. "Yeah, what's up? We thought you were about to do something?" Speedster taunted, as Felix managed to stop himself. "Nah, not today. Not with my speed." "Ah!" Desmond cried out in pain, his boasting cut short with a flick of the wrist, as one of his head wings burst into flames. "I nicked one of your wings when I threw that jab." "No need to make fire when there's a perfectly good candlelight to bend," explained as his opponent collapsed to his knees, hastily removing his burning accessory and tossing it far. A devastating burn, and a dirty play from the new gen's fourth son. Keep clear of this kid, people. He may look pretty, but this silver hellion's black soul isn't human. No, this man is in fact not a man. He is a demon. The audience screamed in faux terror as the young warrior rose up. A good amount of booze mixed into the crowd for good measure. "They wasted no time selling me as a heel, huh?" While the crowd ate it up, Goldbug and Constantine looked at the other young man, doing his best to recover. TKO counter starting. You think you may have bet too much money?" Dylan asked. "With him? More like not enough." "Stan, the kid's lacking the discipline for this. If he hadn't been making an ass of himself..." "You're not getting it, are you, Goldbug?" The coach gave his peer a raised eyebrow and shrugged shoulder, both of which were returned with annoyed eyes. "He's like us, faster, bad out of hell, and annoying to hit. He may not have a fancy electric shit you got, but like me, he doesn't need a gimmick to propulsion move like that." Constantine explained, his student slowly rising up, shaken up, but bearing the pain as his foe ran back to him. "His power is the element of freedom. Long as his feet are on the ground, long as he feels he can go anywhere, long as he can show off the little shit he is, he can move like the wind. That's his discipline. Doesn't matter who he's up against. He keeps up the pressure, and it's a done deal." The speedy young man took a starting posture, eyes focused on Felix as he leaned forward, arms crossed and leg muscles tensing, taking deep breaths, and soon, with a grin, his winged boots pushed against the dirt, his arms flung back, and Desmond was blasted into the demon, tackling him back into a roll. Without missing a beat, Ventura the Swift kept hold of his adversary, feet managing to plant into the ground for him to throw Felix, the ivory boy's back slamming into the wall, separating the field from the stands. Felix groaned, picking himself up from the ground, only to be decked in the face by his high-speed opponent, rolling with the punch and pivoting with his shoulder to the wall, planting his back firmly against it while his peer skidded to a halt. "I feel bad for your kid, B. It was a terrible matchup," the scraggly coach lamented sarcastically. Student moving to hit and run once more, Felix doing his best to defend against the onslaught of high-speed assaults. "Yeah, this is a terrible matchup, isn't it?" Goldbug replied, a knowing smile on his face pulling a confused expression from Constantine's. The men looked up at their pupils, both assured of their respective students' victory, with Desmond being practically vocal about his odds. "It's over for you, Silverlax," Ventura declared, bending the wind at his back to knock away Felix's guard as he rushed past the boy. "You're supposed to be a demon? Well, I'm the Speed Demon!" Another quip, another hit, with Felix breathing heavy, a small but confident smile adorning his face. "Whoa! Oh, God is good! You know, after the combustion, I was hella worried." "Shut the fuck up and end it, moron!" Constantine cried out from the benches, a nervous laugh coming from his pupil as he refocused on Felix and made for one last high-speed attack. And indeed, it was the last. As he charged towards his opponent once more, a cold shiver ran through Desmond's spine. For there, back to the wall, and guard completely down, the demon was grinning, hand of the damned dragging him below. Before he could process what he saw, the speeding young man was suddenly met with a wall. Ramming into the concrete obtrusion at full speed, Desmond found himself bouncing back a few feet, his body rolling a few more until he came to a stop. The referee quickly moved to check on him, beginning the countdown as the boy let out an agonizing groan. As the count began, the original target of Desmond's attack steadily revealed himself, pulling his body out halfway. He looked between his collapsed opponent and the wall, pieces of it cracking off, and a cold sweat dripped from his face. Much of the crowd was stunned silent, though perhaps none were left more shocked than Constantine, eyes wide with disbelief. "The hell? You had something like that the whole time? No. Even with a trump card like that, Desmond should have been able to backtrack by running up the wall." "I wouldn't be too certain about that." "The hell do you mean?" the astounded man shouted, demanding an answer from his peer. "I know you a little too well, Cheetah. Your form of freedom comes from your aggression, your stubbornness, power. It suits your archetype. I'm guessing a lot of your training you guys did focused on attacking with powers, especially with how hard he hit. I can't make any judgments on if it was the right call or not, but regardless, looks like it came at the cost of his mobility." The scraggly coach watched on, lingering hope his student would rise as the referee finished his countdown. But as much as he hoped, the countdown ended. Desmond still on the ground, officially ending the match with a knockout. Constantine let out a sharp, heavy breath as the referee went to check on his pupil. Brow furrowed in frustration, apologetic eyes watching the boy declared unconscious. "You gonna be alright, Stan?" "Don't patronize me." "I know it'll be fine. It's just, I suppose I owe the kid an apology. About $2.5 million, and don't say I told you so cash," the scraggly coach said with vexation. Before Goldbug could ask where the other half of the sum was going, the announcer brought Felix to the center of the field and raised his arm in victory. "Winner of the Greenhorn Tournament's first fight, Felix the Demon Velatores!" The arena boomed with the cheers and boos of the audience, the young man flashing a nervous smile, finding his family amidst the first balcony corner crowd, applauding their young fighter while medical staff tended to Desmond, using a healing power to soothe and erase his burns and bruises as he was coming to. Soon, Ventura the Swift, while sore both physically and emotionally, joined his victorious foe as they were shooed off towards the benches, arena staff setting the field for the next fight. God, couldn't give a man a warning? The defeated young adversary complained to Felix. Sorry, nothing personal. I mean, you were slamming a fist into me like Mach 2 or something, so... Nah, if it moved that fast, it should be a blur, even to me. Besides, that fire hurt like a bitch, man. I was not planning on being roasted like that today. Don't even get me started back on the wall. Felt like it was made out of super concrete or something. Yeah, you alright after all that? Felix asked, genuine concern in his voice. Yeah, I'm good. Honestly, you weren't much worse than fighting my coach, a guy called Constantine Cedar. That sounds kind of familiar. Cedar. Cedar the cheetah? That's the guy. Scary motherfucker. Man, scary. Shitty way to describe a guy that just softened your loss, ain't it? The man in question interjected as the boys walked past, to the surprise and fright of his student. Coach Cedar! Look, I didn't mean it like that. Non-derogatory. I swear. Sure you do, Sia replied, eyes like daggers piercing through his pupil. What exactly is this guy like to get a reaction like that? Felix thought to himself as he watched his peer fumble for words before his coach. Save it. It's not important. I owe you an apology anyway, kid. Seems you're alright. You focused too much on blitzing during training. Should have gotten you used to moving around a little more. Regardless, you did great for a first-timer, even if you got a mouth on you. But you'd have praised his pupil, patting his shoulder as the dark-skinned young man's fear and disappointment melted away. So, does that mean... Desmond began to ask, Constantine simply rolling his eyes. You get 1/2 of the $5 million. The other half goes to your little girlfriend's hospital bills, alright? I might be a scary motherfucker, but I'm the one that keeps his word. Young speedster smiled wide in joy, thanking his mentor, tears forming in his eyes. I'm getting back at you for this, though. Training's only going to get tougher from here on. Starting with an obstacle course, straight from hell. Got it? The terrifying coach barked. Yes, sir. Next time, I bet I'm making it to the finals for sure. Hey, Demon, you hear that? Next time I'm whooping your ass, guaranteed, Desmond declared, Felix shooting him an anxious look before Goldbug stepped in. Sure, we'll be sure to set up a play date for you two boys real soon. We better study your student closely today. After that performance, you best not disappoint, boy, Constantine stated with a slight mocking tone, something that both irritated and encouraged Felix. Yeah, I'll be riding this win all the way to the finals, Felix vowed. With a declaration of victory and a vow to fight again, the two fighters made their way back to the benches. You did good out there, Felix. Wasn't expecting a speedster first match, though. Lucky us, huh? Goldbug joked. Tell me about it. If Goldbug wasn't my coach, I might have been out cold on that first hit. You're gonna want to be more careful from now on, though. Being honest, your wall trick was more of a fluke. That Desmond kid had better reaction or footwork, he'd still be fighting right now. Or walking away with a loss. The usually playful coach warned. Goldbug's words were heavy on Felix as the boy nodded, letting them sink in as the next fight was announced. The second match of the Greenhorn tournament would be between Garfield Davis and Gabriel Phantasma. I'll give you a little more advice later, kid. Right now, focus on this fight. Whoever wins, you'll be facing in your next match. Right, gotcha, Felix replied, his focus quickly turning towards the ring as the next two fighters from the next generation took the field. At my side A, standing stiff and looking down his nose with 35 points in the exhibition match, we welcome Kafab's sixth pick for the next generation, Garfield Davis. The young man called Garfield was pale, fair-skinned, not sickly, though confidence could be found nowhere in his face as he stood. An entirely white jumpsuit adorned with a belt around his waist with calligraphy brushes ink hanging from it. And at my side B, a lanky, ghoulish fighter with an aura of intensity, died with his opponent in the exhibition at 35 points. The new generation's fifth son, Gabriel Phantasma. The other young man, called Gabriel, stood with a slump, his hands in his pockets, hidden behind a thin, translucent, greenish-white poncho. And much like his opponent, he seemed to be lacking anything resembling confidence. We've started off this tournament with a bang. Let's see if we can keep this momentum going! Once more, the referee stood between the two fighters, keeping them at bay until finally the bell rang out, beginning the match. However, almost immediately, I forfeit the match.